What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. This is going to be part 2 to the wide body kit installation video that we're doing. And so if this is your first time tuning in for this in particular thing, there is a part 1 where we went over the fitment of getting these things aligned. In that video, they were correct. Once I got the car off the jack stands, everything was where it needed to be. And so this part, we're going to talk about how much you may or may not need to take out of your front and rear quarter sections. So you can see here on the front, it is pretty drastic looking. I probably took a little bit too much out in this section. I'm trying to keep this metal where it's not going past the splash guard here, and so this could have been a little further forward. So when you're cutting yours, just be mindful of this section here. You don't want to be past that, because then you're going to have to figure out how to fix all that, which you can with fiberglass. No big deal if you need to patch that, but you don't have to go as far as I did. Essentially what I was trying to do was cut this fender so that when I put the wide body panel on there, the edge of my cut would be even with the flat area here, so that you don't have fender extending past. And so when you look in there, you would see a flat piece of fender sticking past, and it's just not going to look right. And so that's my thought process on it as to why I took so much out. And so I did that all the way around, and basically how I accomplished how much I wanted to cut off the fender. You could use a tape measure, you could do it in 10 different ways, but I just basically stuck the panel up here with one hand, and then I took my left hand and I stuck it underneath the panel, and I went as far as my fingertips would touch, and then took the panel back off and put a mark. And I did that kind of in sections all the way around, and then I drew my line and cut that out. And so now this is fitting pretty good. The front section, I could have taken more off. You can actually see possibly on camera here, there's a line there. I could have took more off, but I wanted to leave a little bit of meat here. So this will be sticking past a little bit on the front of that. No big deal. I think I'm just gonna fill it in with the 3M panel bond, and if that still doesn't look right, I might take some fiberglass mat on the inside and fully make this fender look as good on the inside as it does the outside. That is something else you can do if you don't want to take this much off. You could obviously do fiberglass, but the reason that I took this much off again is because I wanted to match it up there, and I want to give myself as much clearance on the inside as possible so that the tire is not going to hit anything. Clearly, that's not going to be an issue now. I did drive this car up and down the road a few times to make sure that nothing was going to hit, and that was even before I did a little bit more trimming today. So no rubbing issues whatsoever, which is great. On the back side back here, they show this in the video that Maier has, but again, there's no sound. You can't hear him talking, and the guy doesn't even point it out. But in the video, you'll actually see him grab this wire, which is tucked into this fender well, and push it out of the way. Unfortunately, I missed that when I watched the video, because it happened so quickly in the video and there's no mention of it, that when I cut this, I actually nicked the wires, and so I had to fix 2 of the wires, and I still got to fix 1 more of the wires that's also nicked, and so I had to fix those. So just be aware that there is a wire, and that wire just feeds right over the fender like that and goes into the trunk. I believe it goes to the tail lights, would be my best guess as to what that could be going to. But that's going to be there, and you got to be mindful of that for the rest of this install, because what is going to come next is going to be I've actually got to cut this inner fender section here, raise this up, and then weld it back to the body. And when you make the slits all the way down it, as you see in Maier's video, you're going to just make slits all the way across, bring it up, you're going to be left with small gaps all the way around. And what you do is just clean this up really, really good, and then fiberglass and fiberglass mat, or you can replace it with metal if you want, or if you're going to do mini tubs, then you would be replacing all of that. I am not doing mini tubs. It's not required for this build. So I'm going to slit that out, weld it to the outer edge, and then fiberglass it, and we'll be good to go. But you can kind of see back here, what you want to do when you're making your cuts is basically start from nothing. You don't need any extra clearance on the front or the rear, and those 2 points give you an idea of where to mount your body kit. And the thing is, you don't have to necessarily take out as much material as I did. Originally I had it cut to here, and I was going to leave it because I got plenty of clearance, but the only reason that I went higher, which is basically what Maier does in their video, is if I ever want to lower this car, this would be an issue. And you literally have, you know, that much extra room if you slip this and bring it up. So it just gives you way more clearance. That's why they do it, I'm assuming, and that's why I'm going to do it. If I decide to lower the car, then that'll be what happens. But as far as like the measurements go, I do have a tape measure here just to give you an idea of what I've done. Let me get this tape measure. So from the top piece here down, you can see we're 3.5 inches, maybe, let's see, probably 3 3/4 inches to the top of this gap. And so if you just measure, you know, right behind the window there down, you're somewhere in the 3.5 to 4 inch range. I don't think it's going to matter whether you're a 1/2 inch difference from there, but that's what we did at the top. And then we're basically just doing kind of a moon shape so that we can come back to nothing. And essentially all you're doing is just making that look round. You're not even going to be able to see it once you get the fender flare on. So if it's not perfect, and mine is not perfect, then it's not going to matter because you're not going to be able to see it. But another reason that I went this high is the same as the front. If you don't go that high up, you can see that the wide body kit, it flattens out about right here. And so you start an angle and you would have that hanging down. You're not going to really see it unless you look up in there. When the tires are on the car, there would be no way to see it. But if you don't want that, or don't want to have to potentially fiberglass and make a gap disappear, you just cut higher so that you don't have to. Still plenty of material, probably about that much, you know, that we can bond to. Shouldn't be a big deal. And then we can also, when we fiberglass this in, we can add fiberglass to the back as well to give it a little bit more support. Shouldn't go anywhere. But that's where I cut mine. You don't have to cut yours that much. If you think that that's not enough area to panel bond and you want to go a little lower, you can. Like I say, I only did it because I wanted plenty of clearance if I ever decide to really lower this car all the way to the ground or put airbags on it. Now I have a little extra room. But that is, I'm going to say, basically it for this video. Like I say, be mindful of the wire. You can kind of see where we cut it. If you have any questions, you can hit me in the comments. Here's the front again. If you want to see the measurement for how far I did in the front, like I say, I didn't even measure anything. I just stuck my hand into there like I showed you. But I think it's about the same. Yeah, somewhere between 3.5 and 4 inches. So you can kind of match that front to rear. The only thing that I did different to the front was I did cut out more. You have to cut out more in the front. You cannot go to nothing because your tire will not clear the wide body. It won't even clear the fender if you're running bigger tires, which I am. And if you're running wider tires, it definitely will not clear. You have to have the front cut. The rear, I don't think is going to be as big of a deal, but still, I feel like the rear part of the tire could potentially hit. But I hope you like the video. I hope this video helps somebody else get their wide body kit on. My next step from here is going to be to cut the rear back there, slit it out so that I can get the fiberglass, get all that welded. I don't know if I'm going to put the fiberglass on first or if I'm going to wait until I have the panel mounted. I'll probably wait until I have the panel mounted to do the fiberglass, so that if I decide to do any reinforcement onto the wide body flare, I can go ahead and do it all at one time. So, but I do need to get that cut and slitted and welded, because obviously you won't be able to weld once you get the flare on. And then all we'll be left with is fiberglass. Should be really simple to just take the rear tires off and get all that fiberglass. It might be a little messy, but not too bad. But that's going to be the next step, is cutting that. I'll probably do a video once I have that cut and tacked up and just show you kind of what it looks like. You can see that pretty good in Maier's video, so I'm not as pressed to do that, but I will, again, try to do an update video. I may not make it a part of this series. It may just be a separate video, or I may make it a part. I don't know. Depends on what else I get done besides that. But I still got to do the other side. We've already trimmed a little bit off over here. I basically trimmed, and this will give you a good idea of what I was talking about, your clearance. So you can see how much I took out here. I had to take this much out, otherwise the tire would have been hitting it when you try to turn. The rear, I didn't take any out, so there's no clearance issue on this part of the fender, but I don't know if you would have a clearance issue on the wide body fender. I guess you wouldn't, so you don't necessarily have to take any out of the back if you don't want. But again, I did it because I don't want two fenders, because that fender sticks out. You're going to be able to see that for sure on the front. That's why I trimmed it the way that I did. The back, again, same thing. My rear tires would have been scrubbing, so I had to just cut this, the first cut. And this is where I had the other side, like I was saying. I had it here, and I was saying, you know, I got plenty of clearance. I don't have to cut it anymore. And if you don't want to, then that's fine. But again, you got another, 4 inches of clearance that you can take out. But if you don't want to have to do a ton of work right here fixing this, I suppose I don't see anything wrong with just leaving it there, button this up, welding it, and probably wouldn't even have to do any fiberglass unless you just wanted to fiberglass the rear of this together. So that's just personal preference, I suppose, whether you have to do that or not. Like I say, if you're planning on lowering your car a lot, then you probably will want to do that. I decided to do it because that's the way that Maier did it, and I just want to have the clearance just in case. I'd rather have it now than have to try to go back later and figure out how to cut it and possibly have to remove the panels, which would practically ruin them. So that's just the way that we did it. You can let me know in the comments what you think. If you've done this in particular install and didn't have a video of it and did anything different, let me know. I'd love to know some input on what you guys do to get it on. But this is where I'm at, and I think it's going to turn out really good. Only time will tell. We'll see. Still got a lot of body work to do once we get these things mounted, but my goal is to hopefully have all 4 of these panel bonded to the car by this weekend, so that our Sunday video is of them all on the car. And then I want to get all of these on the car, and I want to get the car outside in the sunlight with some heat before winter sets in, so I can make sure if there's any shrinkage or any flexing, that any of that can happen before we get into major body work. I don't want to get this thing body worked and painted and then something crack because of expansion, or it shrunk. So I want to get this done as quick as I can so that I can have plenty of time to allow this car to sit and everything to settle where it needs to be before we get paint on. We do want to get it painted as quick as we can, obviously, but this is the situation you're in. You don't want to rush things, and so we're not going to rush. But this is going to conclude the part 2 of the wide body install. And like I say, if you have any questions, hit me up in the comments. I'll be happy to try to help you. You can come back to this video for reference if you're doing one, and you can go from there. But like I say, it's pretty straightforward where I went with the cuts. Like I say, the front, you can't go past that splash guard, and the rear, you just have to give yourself enough room, you know, top to bottom here, to have something to mount to. But that's it, guys. I hope you liked the video. There will be more videos coming hopefully soon. Hopefully I'll have another one up by tomorrow, and then we'll have our Sunday update video as well. And we'll go from there. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already, so that you can keep seeing the videos and see hopefully the finished product of this car when we get done. Like I say, we still got a lot to do, a lot more content coming, and I've got a few things I've got to work on once I get everything done. So we'll have all that on video as well. But anyway, you can look forward to another video, like I say, tomorrow, and then another video on Sunday as well.